Yo, 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 what's up, all you burner stoners and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
I am excited.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love it.
I think it's going to be a good year.
2024, it's in. Hey, everybody. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. And Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal with some Bacterian, which was bred by our friend Big Earl. And it's Goku SSJ4 and Stanky Haze Cross. And Bacterian is a character on Dragon Ball Z. Big smelly character. But this was grown by our friend Sam Wolf. And I don't have any other information about it. Just
Tastes good.
It does. It was like nice and fresh when I pulled it out of the jar, and it smelled really nice and green. And I'm looking forward to smoking it because I love anything that has to do with Dragon Ball.
Yes, you do.
So I'm super stoked, Sam. I appreciate you giving us this nugget. It smells fantastic. So how do you like it?
I think it's good. Oh, would you like some?
Yeah, I would love some. I want to get normal.
All right, I'll share.
Hopefully everybody out there while I smoke this, hopefully out there everybody had a great New Year's weekend.
Yeah.
We did, but we'll have a little story to tell in a second here. Ms. Weedman, you got anything to say while I smoke this? Don't tell the story
Don't
yet.
tell the story? Oh, we have a story to tell. We had actually really great, just a great holiday season.
Holidays.
Just all the holidays were great. I think we talked about it last week a little bit, that just drama was on the down low. Spirits were high. I don't know. I feel just really optimistic. I personally had kind of a shitty last 2 years. And so it is a welcome feeling to feel this positive. I'm typically a glass is always on the rise kind of person. Like I'm not a negative naysayer.
You're a realist.
I'm a realist. So yeah, I'm not like, I don't fluff shit. That's
You're
for
not
sure.
a fluffer.
I'm not a fluffer. I'm very much about the reality of things, but I'm positive also. And the last couple of years, it's been a little challenging for me because of my health.
Yeah.
Well, that's why, really. Yeah. And you know, some other adult shit in life that happens. And I just have to say that I really feel going into 2024 that it's going to be a good year.
Well, you were saying when we were driving down to the event we went to on New Year's Eve that you felt that 2024 was going to be a great year for us and for you, and just be an overall great year in general.
I think so.
So super stoked. So now the story.
The story.
So we're heading down to Made, right? Is that what it's called?
Made Gallery.
Made Gallery for our New Year's Eve festivities. But first and foremost, I was driving, which I never really drive much. Mrs. Weedman loves to drive. And I actually drove because we took my car. And on the way down, there was a big bumper on the road that I had to avoid.
I forgot about that.
I had to avoid.
We weren't even on the highway for 2 minutes, and there's a bumper in the middle of the road backing up traffic.
Right. But then I smelled this smell. And I said, what the hell is that? It smells like a burnt tire.
Yeah.
I said, is it my car? You're like, no. I pull up to this car.
Now, the car was driving down the highway. This is the car
driving
that lost
on
the bumper.
Flying Ryan.
Yeah.
90, 94, 57, whatever.
This highway
the Ryan.
is like
Dan Ryan Highway.
It's the south access to the city of Chicago, and it is a highway that you just don't stop on.
We call it the Flying Ryan.
It's the Flying Ryan, and speed limits don't apply.
Nope.
Nor do turning indicators, as people like
nothing
to call
applies.
them.
It just
nothing
drives.
applies. You just drive.
Drive to where you're going.
So not surprising, completely surprising that we saw this vehicle, but as we pulled up to it, we're like, what the fuck what is going on with that car? Oh, that's the car that lost the bumper. Holy shit. We'll have to post it in our story.
The whole front of the car is smashed, but his back driver's side tire is facing sideways.
Yeah, just sparks.
And just flying at it. And
well, there wasn't a tire. It was just the steel wheel.
No, the tire was there. No,
the wheel was
just, the tire was there. The tire was there.
Grinding on the ground.
Just grinding.
Oh
just
my gosh.
grinding. And I mean, I'm watching the video right now. And just to watch this video again, his tire is just destroyed. and the tire is around the rim, except there's no tire on the bottom of the rim. It's just half tire,
right.
Part of the rim. Car is destroyed, okay? And The windows are tinted.
So tinted. You can't even see who's in there.
Like blacker than limousine
limo
tint,
tint.
right? And just driving like nothing's going on. Just
but
driving.
really, probably only going about 40 miles an hour because it couldn't go faster.
Yeah, I mean,
so it was backing up traffic. What is happening? Like only in Chicago. All I could think was that's like a kid, someone who's never owned a car before, or like took a car out on a joyride and got in a crash, and they're like, I'm just gonna get the car home. If I just get it home, everything's going to be okay. Like their parents didn't tell them that after an accident, you just stop and you call for help. This person just decided they're going to drive the car home.
Way to start off the New Year's right.
So that's just going down to the party.
So we go down to the party, and this maid gallery is pretty sweet. We've been there before for another event, but so we find parking and we go inside, and the place is already full. We get there about 10:15. This party started at 10, and it's already packed. And we know some people there. And Courtney that owns, she owns Smoke Signals greeting cards, which is amazing. And Toasty and the owner of Maid Gallery was right there to greet us, and it was great. And we see a friend of ours who's sitting at a table, and there's no other spots. There's just one seat at that table. He was gracious enough to move over one and make room for 2 seats for us to sit next to him, and it was the start of actually going great. Everything was going great, and we got up and we got some food. It was food from Cafe Barbariba. Delicious.
Chicago institution.
Oh yeah, been around forever. And we had bought some weed and our dab rig and our Puffco and our dab rig and all that stuff, and we get settled in. We eat. And we do a dab. We're talking to everybody around the table, and there was a bunch of people in the industry around the table, people that own head shops and just people that are in the industry. It was pretty dope. And hash makers, and it was basically a dab New Year's Eve party. I mean, everybody at the tables had their gear out, and smoking joints too was great. There was someone made some banana bread. I saw it. It was on the table. I don't know if they were sharing or not, but it was a big, huge piece of banana bread that was infused with 1,000 milligrams of hash rosin. Hash rosin. It was amazing. It was
knock you out.
Yeah, the place was a big cloud. It was beautiful, and this gallery is amazing.
Yes,
the artwork, the glass pieces, the sculptures. The clothing line, Mrs. Weedman, the sneaker area.
I think we talked about it after we went the last time, because we went to a gallery exhibit and then went there for like an after party. So back to the same venue. Maybe you have heard us talk about it before, but it really is impressive. He has a fine collection of glass. Really, really modern, fun art. The glass is like, if you don't appreciate glass, you can learn to appreciate glass.
Yes.
I mean, there's like heavy hitter pieces of art in this place. It's very cool.
Yes.
And it's just a really fun atmosphere. Yeah. It's really fun.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
And you get to meet a lot of cool people that enjoy cannabis.
Diverse crowd.
Yes, the way it's supposed to be.
Wide age range, but everybody's like just
chilling, dabbing, and smoking weed and talking shit. And so we're there, we're eating, we do our first round, and our friend that was sitting next to us asked Mrs. Weedman if she would like to do a dab. He wanted to give us...
Our friend is Mickey. We've met him through the Chicago network of events.
Yes.
And he's just good people.
Yes, good people. And so he wanted to give Mrs. Weedman a special, asked what kind of flavor profile she liked. She said, he goes, I have the perfect thing for you. Gave her lit up his dab, and what was cool about it, I didn't know this at all because I don't use a rig. I mean, I use a Puffco, so I mean because it's easy, But I didn't know there was there was heat sensors to tell what temperature your glass is.
This is high tech. This is high tech. Everybody has like very particular setups. These are people that are
high end setups
that are. Like, this is what they do. This is how they consume.
Yes.
And so they have very specific ways that they
heat temperature gauges, scale.
The placement of all their tools. Everything is just so. They have
just
mats.
Perfection.
It's pretty cool.
Yes.
Everybody even had their own little, like, cleaning well with isopropyl alcohol in it. And, like, a rag to clean their stuff off. So they're clean. It was very impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah. And I mean, I had my stuff with me.
And we pulled out our Puffco.
Yeah, we pulled out our Puffco.
Okay.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are.
So, but I mean, there was a couple of people. There was 3 people in our table though that all had an electronic dab rig. So some people it's easy. It's easy for me, but I saw those beautiful heating elements that people were using, and the temperature gauges that you can. It would change my world.
Yeah.
I'd become a better rig user if I had all those bells and whistles. I mean, we saw that. We'll talk about it in a second. But Mickey had an old school, like he said, it was old. I was like, that's cool as shit, though. And he goes, it still takes the temperature exactly the way I need it. I'm like, that's amazing. So he showed me his little setup, and he picked Mrs. Weedman out a wonderful smelling.
He said, "What kind of what would you like?" I said something fruity.
Yep.
And boom, he had it.
He had
it. Was
it.
great.
He had like probably 12 different hashes to choose that he smokes from, and and it was very impressive. And then we sat next to a kid named Jeremy that had a beautiful rig that Mrs. Weedman. It looked like jewels. It looked like stones, and it was Mrs. Weedman's like, I like that rig, and he's like, I've had it. It's special. I said, Mrs. Weedman likes that rig.
Can I buy that?
Yeah, it was very pretty. So and there was another couple sitting next to us, across from us. She had a parrot.
Yeah, her glass was
beautiful. I don't remember what he had. I can't remember, but hers was very intriguing. Yeah. It was a parrot.
He owns a head shop, so he brought out all different glass all night long. He had an electric rig. He had all.
And everybody had their hash, and it was great. And we sat next to a Carolyn with a K.
Carolyn
she made sure her name was Carolyn with a K, and she has a
cannabis cleaning service.
So she's
which was cannabis
really
friendly
cool.
Made. Like cleaning services, I shouldn't say made. She has a service, and so she goes in, and if you are a cannabis friendly household, she understands your privacy and your tools and your stuff, and she'll clean around them and not roll her eyes.
Yeah,
so it's kind of neat.
Yeah, and she had an electronic rig. I don't remember the name of it. Yeah. Don't remember the name of it, but it looked cool too. Actually, you can put photos on it.
Yeah, a little screensaver.
A little screensaver, which I thought was awesome. I don't remember the name of it, unfortunately. So Mickey heats the rig up, puts the dab in, Mrs. Weedman, and he said to Mrs. Weedman,
"You don't have to finish.
You don't. Well, no. First, you hit it, and you hit it, and you're like, I'm good." And he goes, "You don't have to finish it." So now here's me. Now I wasn't ready to smoke yet because I had just smoked the puff go, and I was good. I wanted to have a nice, enjoyable night. I didn't want to get too stony baloney. I just wanted to enjoy.
Pace yourself.
Right.
That's what Mr. Weedman gave me the dad lecture on the way down.
Right.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, pace yourself. Because you were worried again. Like, I got to pay. I mean, I'm like, just pace yourself. Because I tend
to like, oh, that was good. I want more.
Right.
And then I'm like, shoot, I had too much.
I'm laughing about this night. And I've been getting made fun of the last couple of days, too, for it from Mrs. Weedman and our children. So I go, Mickey, I'll finish it for her. I'm not ready to do one, but I'll finish it. So he's like, go ahead, man. Just take a little one. I gotta laugh because it's funny. I took a fucking rip beyond all rips, beyond all rips, beyond all fucking rips that I've ever taken in my life out of a rig. I hit this thing so fucking. I cleared it.
Yeah, you did.
I cleared it, and I blew a fucking cloud that was like
a locomotive.
It
just kept going.
It wouldn't stop. I got done and I looked at Mrs. Weedman. I said, "I'm fucked." And you knew.
Yeah,
you
I knew.
fucking had to know because I did that rip and I looked over at Mickey and I said,
"I knew you did a big rip, but I also know that you're really good about being conscious about whether it's alcohol or weed.
I know.
You're just always so good at what you're doing." So I don't question it.
I knew exactly what
he's going for it.
I didn't mean to go like that, but his rig was very smooth.
It was not hot. It was
not
really
hot
nice.
at all. He had the temperature where we normally like it. I think he said I'll keep around. I like Mrs. Weedman likes 490. I like 520. I think he had it about 510. But this thing hit so nice that I couldn't stop, and it tasted so good. I just kept on going. And when I realized when I stopped and I looked at the chamber and there was nothing left, no smoke,
like,
no nothing, I'm like, and I blew this fucking cloud and it looked like rain can come out of it. That's how big this cloud was. And it was probably the biggest I've ever taken. And like I said, I looked at Mrs. Weedman and I said, I'm fucked. I said, I think I took too much. And I looked at Mickey. I said, I took too much. I'm going to be fucked up for a minute here. And he goes, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I said, I'm going to be fucked. So within like 30 minutes...
Yeah, if that.
Realistically, 30 minutes. Because I got up off the chair for a second. I let Mickey sit down because he had lost his chair for a second.
Yeah.
So I got up and I felt fine. He got up and then I sat down and it all hit me at once. And I looked at Mrs. Weedman, you're like, you got the shakes. I'm like,
yeah.
I didn't have them that bad.
You were trying to show somebody something with your phone, and your hands were like,
going
like
90 miles per hour. My fucking
like, oh my God,
heart was racing. So I just put my phone on the table. I just sat there and I was faded.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Weedman kept on asking me, okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fucked up.
Kept trying to get you to eat. You were being so stubborn.
I couldn't.
Like, you gotta drink some water.
I did.
You
I drank
eat
water.
Some sugar.
I couldn't.
Sugar.
I didn't want anything.
I know.
Nothing was going to work at that moment. I was so fucking faded, and my mind was going 90 miles per hour, and I felt like I was tripping balls for a second there, and I was too over high. I wasn't greened out, but I was faded for a good 40 minutes. And then I looked at Mrs. Weedman.
It felt like forever.
To Mrs. Weedman, because she's embarrassed now.
Yeah, because, okay, wait.
Let's get to Hold on a second.
I just got to do a little, you know me. I got to have the setup.
You will, hold on.
All right.
So 40 minutes later, in between that 40 minutes, I probably said some stupid shit. I probably did some stupid things that pissed off Mrs. Weedman. But here I am, fucked up. She knows it. She's been there multiple times, and I've been by her side. I feel her energy is not happy with me, and now I get the shakes again because I'm nervous. Now I'm nervous as fuck. Now I get paranoid. I'm like, now are people looking at me? Am I saying the wrong things? Am I fucked up? Because Mrs. Weedman is telling me I'm screaming when I don't think I'm screaming. I don't think I'm screaming, but she says I am. So now I'm like, are people looking at me? Fuck. And I said, you know what? I'm going to the bathroom, and I popped out of it, and I'm like, I'm going to the bathroom. So while I'm walking in the bathroom, now you can go ahead and do the catch by the time I go to the bathroom and I get back. What were you gonna say? Like, you want to say in that 40 minutes of time?
Oh, well, the setup is that we were sitting at a table, and it was all just people with their setups, and the gallery owner brought out a really special piece of glass for everybody to smoke out of. So it was like a ray gun, and it was black and neon green, and so he had this kind of iron rest that the gun sat on.
It was beautiful.
And then he'd heat the bowl, and he had like a little meter that was checking that was gauging the temperature. And Mr. Weedman's sitting at like the base of this pipe. All right, so now everyone has an option to come up and hit this ray gun. Super cool. You have to stand up. You have to hold it with two hands, and he's taking care of the bowl and putting the dabs in. And
the temperature gauge was amazing.
Yeah, it was super cool. So of course we all want to try it, and so we're literally sitting where this thing is placed. And so every time someone is smoking, then they're blowing the smoke. This piece of glass, we don't even know the value of it. It was said to be really
very expensive,
tens of thousands, maybe, or a lot of money.
A lot of money.
And so he was kind of freaking out when it was coming. Oh, that because he's so high. He's like, that piece should not come out. Why is he taking that piece out? Oh no. And he sees him going over to the case. No.
Because they're bringing it by me.
He's like, don't.
They're putting it right next to me.
He's like, don't. And he's kind of saying this loud, like, don't bring that piece out. That's a bad idea. Why are you doing that?
Because I was nervous I was going to break it. I was nervous.
But then you were confused or concerned that other people were going to, like, someone that way. And you wouldn't use the word because I think you were afraid you were going to jinx it. But you're like, that just don't bring it out. Just don't, please. You were like pleading and begging. And you're like, I'm so stoned. Oh, I'm so high.
Because I started freaking out that I was going to be the one to break this thing.
Yeah, so that everybody who comes up...
I didn't even try it.
Everyone who comes up to smoke is blowing their shit right into Mr. Weedman's face. Like, they smoke, they puff, and
they didn't turn and blow to my face. They blew it straight down, but it came my way.
Hitting you.
And I looked at the owner. I looked at the owner, Chris, and I go,
"Oh shit,
that's just blowing right in my face." He goes, "Dude, you are wrecked right now." I said, "Dude, 30 people have done this thing, and
you're just sitting in it."
I'm sitting in clouds upon clouds of being blown from the ground and bouncing back up straight into, and I'm breathing this all in. That secondhand smoke, I couldn't stop being high. I said to you, because when I came back from the bathroom, you're like, "You're good now?" I said, "Yeah." And then you went to the bathroom, right, and came back, and the ball dropped, and also I looked at you. I'm like, "I'm high again. Why am I high again?" And I'm looking at Chris, and he's looking at me, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm high again. It's not going away."
And in the meantime, though, like, he's slumping in his seat, his eyes are kind of closed, he's got the shakes, and there's a couch. I'm like, go sit on the couch for a bit.
No, because I wouldn't have woke
And he's
up.
like, no. I'm like, go get a water out of that fridge. Get some candy off the fridge.
That I did.
Go,
I got water.
I'm like, go, you need to sit. No, I'm fine. But he's like slumping in the seat.
Oh, yeah, I was
Behind
slumping.
him are like display cases of very expensive artwork and sculpture. In front of him is this really expensive glass ray gun pipe. Like, all I'm thinking is he's going to fall asleep in the chair and break 20,000 in one direction or 50,000 in another. I'm like, no.
In my head, the whole time, I was like, do not fucking screen out. Do not fucking fall asleep. Do not fuck this up. You're invited. Don't embarrass Mrs. Weedman. So
it wasn't even about being embarrassed. It's just we are new to, like, I think there's a lot of, there's regulars, it seems.
Yes.
We've been there twice now. It seems like there's regulars, and then there's kind of an influx of new people that come when they're around or when they're available. You know, so they're like partial like regulars, and then there's completely new people like us. So we knew some familiar faces from having gone there and then from other events, but we didn't really know anybody. So it was like I didn't have anybody. I wasn't embarrassed. It was more that people didn't really know us.
Right.
And so they don't know that you smoke weed every day, and this is you're not like some newbie trying to keep up with the Joneses.
No,
they also don't know. They also don't know like our character.
Right.
So I was concerned, like if you passed out, like were they concerned? You were like,
I don't think they were because they would have said something to you.
You were yelling sometimes, like I'm so high, it's all your fault. You were getting mad at Mickey. You were joking.
I was joking.
But again, like they don't know
Mickey.
Us in that way.
Well, I went to Mickey a couple times. First time I said to Mickey, I said, dude, that I fucking ate that. And he goes, dude, that was a big hit. So he knew what happened. He was well aware how high I was, and I just kept on joking about it. Like, dude, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking high right now. I missed out on some wonderful joints that were being passed around, those big cigar joints.
We got passed around. There was also a presentation of these Canna cigars.
Oh my gosh.
That were rolled on glass tips made by, I think it was Mothership Glass.
Yep.
And the tips were beautiful. The cigars were beautiful. And the case, oh my God, it was the trifecta. It was absolutely beautiful. He takes one out. It was 8 grams plus.
It was beautiful.
Plus hash down the center.
Yep.
It was like an $8,000 joint. And it made it around the room of maybe 40, 50 people more than once.
Yeah, and I couldn't partake.
It was amazing.
I couldn't partake in Courtney's joints.
It was so good.
I couldn't partake in the fucking ray gun. I was so fucking bummed. But when I got home, when we drove home, they gave us the party was still great. We left around 1:30. It was still a lot of fun from what I remember. I mean, I was conscious throughout the whole thing. I did get up to go to the bathroom. I did get my jacket. No one had to help me out of the place. I was just extremely high.
Yeah.
So, and I had kept my composure. I didn't fall out. I made sure in my head I wasn't going to fall off the fucking floor embarrassed and break anything. That was my worst fear, breaking something. In that place, because the artwork in this place is fucking amazing.
It's all one of a kind.
Yeah.
There's no extras.
So, all in all, though, it was still a good New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we just got home a little early.
Yeah, because we probably would have went
okay.
out somewhere too afterwards too. We were ready to party. We were ready to party like it was 1999. So, but lesson learned, as I say all the time, start low and go slow.
Hey, we all have a night out like that. Right?
Oh my gosh!
One for the books.
And as Paulie always says, smoke smart.
Yeah, we did not practice what we preached.
Not on that day. I fucked up. So there's always next year, though, right?
That's right.
I ended 2023 in the bang and started 2024 on the couch all day on fucking Monday. You ready to get the show started?
Yeah, let's do it.
Thanks, Mrs. Weedman, for having my back and making sure I didn't fall on the floor. So, this was funny. It's called Dabbing Culture and the Rise of Concentrate Consumption. Well, we just talked about it. We just talked about this party. This was a dabbing party. Now, there was weed, there was flower, but this was dabbing, and the culture is real because they're all around. I'm not even going to read the article because it is true. We've gotten to see this now, and I enjoy the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. It's very, very fun.
And dabbing is really a nice way to consume. It's vapor, so you're not having the
and hash just tastes so good.
And hash is amazing. The glass is beautiful. I'm learning to become a little bit more of a I'm recognizing the skill and the art within it.
Yeah.
Because I'm finding more glass that appeals to my taste. My
some of the glass is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just to have some of these glassware. And I think we'll probably get back into using rigs again now that I know you can buy the heating, like you can buy the temperature gauges and you can judge it. Because I know you like a lower heat, and that heat that I took didn't burn my lugs, but it fucking. Whew, oh man, I felt that thing for like 24 hours. That's how big of a rip I took, and. But I would like to get back into rigging again because it as much as I like the Puffco and the electronic stuff, it's all great, but it just brings a different experience when you use a rig. You know, we used to use a rig, but we weren't very good at it. But now I'll invest in some things to help us out. So dabbing culture is real. If you are a hash person and you do like it, find some local community stuff that's doing. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to learn more and more. And some of these people, what they're making right now is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. It's just, I mean, we had Wolfman Jack on and watching him twice now, him doing a live version of making hash and also talking about hash. But also, I've experienced hash for a very long time too, and I've always enjoyed it. The hash they're making now, though, is absolutely just, some of the shit is just ridiculous. Fucking ridiculous. The flavor. I mean, when you did that flavor profile, Mickey had exactly what you were looking for.
He didn't even have to look around or have me smell a couple things.
And
he knew just what I wanted.
Yeah, and it's some of the hash is higher THC concentration and stuff like that, but you can find, I mean, I've seen 50s, you know, so you're not getting that extreme, you know, and I've seen it as high as 70, you know, but I mean, it's all, I mean, it just depends on what you're looking for. To me, I would rather have like in the 40s and 50s so I can enjoy the flavor more, you know, and just have a good high. So that's just me, but it's just ridiculous what I'm seeing. So kudos to everybody that's really taking hash and taking this culture to another level. So it's really cool. Predictions, more, but we did a little bit. We did a lot of ending stuff on the last episode of 2023, and we talked a little bit of 2024. But this one here is, I'm not going to call these people experts. They're calling themselves industry experts. Nobody's an expert at this because if they were, it'd be a lot different industry. So, but some people in the industry, some CEOs, some founders of companies. And if you're into business and you're into wanting to start your own cannabis company, there's people that have done it already and have a kind of like a roadmap. So, but these are some predictions. Tell us, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, so last episode we talked about kind of a recap of everything big that happened in cannabis in 2023, and now we've got predictions from industry experts for 2024. 2023 saw the cannabis industry continue to evolve at a rapid pace. There were major political movements and significant monetary milestones in the U.S., with Ohio voting to legalize adult-use cannabis and thus becoming the 24th state to do so. We said goodbye to the godfather of cannabis science, Professor Raphael Michelum, and Snoop Dogg duped us into thinking he'd given up the green. He didn't. With 2024 here, some of the industry's power players share their predictions on what we can all expect to see in the coming 12 months. From shifting regulatory landscapes to technological advancements, from changing consumer preferences to the emerging new market, our industry is poised for another dynamic year of growth and change. So we have some opinions. This is from Brian Gerber, founder and CEO of Hera Supply. In 2024, we expect to see a cost-conscious evolution and a strategic response to market demands for affordability and sustainability. So he was talking a lot about packaging. Yes, better packaging. Morgan Faxia, co-founder of Poseidon Investment Management. I foresee the federal government reclassifying cannabis as a Schedule III controlled substance. Additionally, I believe hemp-derived Delta-9 THC products and other naturally occurring intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids will be forced into regulated channels, closing the Farm Bill loophole. Christine Smith, CEO of Grune. 2024 looks promising for the industry. Consumer packaged good brands are expected to drive innovation, developing products that cater to a broad range of consumer tastes, with minor cannabinoids becoming increasingly important in their diverse product lines. Alay Lindquist, CEO of Flora Works Holding Incorporated. Cannabinoid therapeutics will become the leading emerging market opportunity in the cannabis industry.
Now, wait, real quick.
Yeah.
You're really focusing on different cannabinoids now, too.
Yeah, I am. I'm taking
are.
CBG and CBN.
CBD.
CBD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you a difference. The other night before we shuffled out the door, I
Yeah.
took a 500 milligram dose of CBN and CBG because I have found since I've been taking it,
No, not CBN, CBD and CBG.
CBD and CBG. I'm
Yes.
sorry. I've been taking it. It helps with bone density and it helps with chronic pain, both of which I have issues with. And I have found since taking it daily, I sometimes don't get as high. Not necessarily with, I've found with edibles so much, but with smoking and vaping of any sort, I can smoke and consume a lot more. So yes, I've been playing around with some cannabinoids. It's pretty interesting. So anyway, back to the article. Alay Lindquist from FloraWorks Holdings goes on to say, CBN infused products dominate the top selling SKUs. I expect to see a continued upward trend in cannabinoid research as our industry seeks to discover the vast therapeutic potential of rare and novel cannabinoids, paving the way for innovation and growth. We had Dennis, I'm going to forget his name, but we had a cannabinoid
Yeah.
science group, like they're a pharmaceutical group that's creating like synthetic cannabinoids.
Yes.
Yeah, that just made me think of them.
Using like very basic beer ingredients.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That was here in Chicago. All right. Then we have Louis Koski, Chief Strategy Officer of Metric. He says rescheduling 280E and banking will likely be the primary areas of focus in D.C. 2024 is a presidential year, and those years have been pretty good for the expansion of cannabis legalization within the states. Any movement to expand or legitimize legalization could yield positive results economically. In Europe, Germany will become the largest market for adult cannabis with the passage of its decriminalization bill. And Bill Reinhart, CEO of Bold Carts. We see a shift away from cartridges to all-in-one devices, meeting consumer needs for discrete consumption, meeting consumer needs for discrete consumption alternatives. As more consumers move from live resin to rosin and thicker oils, there's a growing need for reliable hardware. Beyond Products 2024 is all about scaling. As markets begin to open and mature, it's a major opportunity for expansion. And Paul Weaver, head of Cannabis with Boston Beer Company. As the newest generation of drinkers reevaluate their relationship with alcohol, the popularity of cannabis beverages are an enticing alternative. Cannabis drinks are challenging the status quo. They have a growing fan base and represent the future of adult consumption. And Harrison Bard, CEO and co-founder of Custom Cone USA. We believe pre-rolls will continue to surge and surpass flower as the number one product category in Canada and will be the number two product category in the U.S., driven by multi-pack and infused pre-roll sales. We expect to see increased automation in pre-roll production and decreases in bulk flower and oil prices, which help brands create higher quality pre-rolls for less money. It's going to be a wild year in the world of weed, and we are ready for the ride.
We'll see if their predictions come true.
Yeah.
These so-called experts.
Yeah.
5 cannabis policy reform efforts to watch in 2024. Mrs. Weedman talked about the Safer Banking Act. We need it. We need cannabis industries, businesses to be able to get into banks so they can put their money in it and also be able to get bank loans to start businesses too. Rescheduling, like Mrs. Weedman talked about, we'll see if that happens. Federal legalization bill. Oh, man. While federal officials evaluate how cannabis is scheduled under the CSA, Congress has several cannabis legalization bills to consider. We shall see. Florida's adult use ballot measure. I'll be talking about this in a minute, but they should have the enough names to be able to put into the vote. We'll see. And then the farm bill. This is the scariest one. You know?
Yeah.
This is the one where the whole hemp laws can change, and everybody that's got their money into all these drinks that you're seeing derived by hemp tea, Delta 9, you know, I was thinking about this last night because I knew I was going to talk about this on the episode. What makes me nervous is that they change this whole thing. And I know they're targeting Delta 8, which is whatever, stupid that they're even doing that because you can get it from the plant. So now it's going to be another, if you can actually eventually grow it from the plant, and now it'll probably be scheduled as a Schedule 1. So, which is just foolish. We'll see what happens, though. They're talking, we'll see. But I don't know what loopholes they're going to close, because to me, I said this before, it's business development. It's not a loophole. It's written in the law. So you're going to change laws now, and what is said in the law is this: cannabis has to be 0.3% in hemp. THC has to be 0.3%
or less.
And now you're seeing people make the cannabis and calling it THCA, but once you decarb it, it turns into THC. So if THCA,
but that's from the cannabis sativa plant,
right? But you can also get THCA from the hemp plant,
right? But THCA from a cannabis plant is just unsmoked or unused weed,
right?
Like the fresh bud.
Yes,
it's THCA until you
the acid form until you
light it,
right?
So that's a loophole.
That's business development.
I think it's great.
It's business development.
I'm all for it. I mean, if it gets people the ability to, continue their business.
A lot of these folks out there that put a lot of investment into the hemp-derived cannabis Delta-9 drinks, the CBD drinks, this can break them. If the government really fucks this up for these people, So, and I know there's a lot of cannabis companies that are probably giving money to the government or lobbying to get these business development changed, because they're losing money at their dispensaries. Because now I could just go in Minnesota, every gas station has hemp-derived Delta-9 THC drinks, 6-packs, 4-packs, tall boys, whatever. And you see them here in Illinois all over the place. Liquor stores now are selling hemp-derived THC drinks. You can grab a 6-pack and go. So, of course, these dispensaries and cultivations across the country are like, fuck you. We had to go through all these ups and downs to get where we're at today and spend millions of dollars to get these laws passed and get licenses and agreements. So, of course, they're going to throw money at the federal government and the state's government to get this stopped, because they're losing money. But like I said, and I'll say this before, that's greed. There's enough money in this for everybody to make. Stop thinking you're going to be billionaires at this. And think about making good livings, not just for yourself, but the other people that work with you and for you. Right?
Totally.
That's where the farm bill should change. This is where the whole laws should change. So you have something really good. We'll this is a long one, but you cut it down. So will this be the cannabis year?
Yeah. So this is further projections, but more on like the laws and things that are going to happen within the industry. So, will this be our year? With rescheduling and several pieces of bipartisan legislation on the table, advocates, politicians, and industry insiders are bullish on reform in 2024. In 1919, a ban on alcohol exposed a cultural divide between urban and rural America and led to a spike in organized crime. Federal, state, and local governments struggled to adapt to the abrupt change in reality that came to be known as prohibition. The task of enforcing new regulations initially fell to the IRS before being passed to the Department of Justice. While enforcement was concentrated in rural areas and small towns where some folks made decent livings by operating homemade stills, urban dwellers continued to enjoy alcohol courtesy of bootleggers and speakeasies. With the end of Prohibition in 1933, after the broken bottles, blood, and dust finally settled, a print article attempted to give the citizens an idea of how the path forward might look. Strong disagreements developed among states over how liquor should be legalized and regulated. As a result, states passed dozens of different laws while the federal government tried to figure out what might make sense on a national level. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? The other prohibition hasn't been repealed yet. Functionally illegal at the federal level since 1937, 8 decades ago, cannabis began a long, agonizing slog toward federal legality in 1996 with the passage of California's Proposition 215, or 215. Since then, 40 states, 4 U.S. territories, 6 tribal nations, and the District of Columbia have established comprehensive medical programs, and 24 states, 3 territories, 6 tribes, and D.C. have legalized recreational sales, yet the federal government stubbornly refuses to yield. For several years now, Congress has been so close to relaxing federal laws, but hope for a new era for the industry was slowed in October when ultra-conservative Louisiana Republican Mike Johnson was elected Speaker of the House. Johnson has voted against every piece of reform legislation since the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement Act, where he missed a committee vote and declined to vote on the floor. Nevertheless, the industry may be poised to gain some ground in banking reform and rescheduling in 2024, even without his help. What might a new cannabis regulatory framework look like? Would it be similar to the liquor industries, where each state designs its own rules and regulations within federal guidelines? Or could cannabis be considered to operate under something more restrictive, where federal agencies like the DEA and the U.S. FDA have primary oversight? This year is shaping up to be an interesting one for activists, lobbyists, and the representatives who are willing to participate in a legalization conversation that has been going on for far too long. After President Joe Biden's October 2022 request that the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of Justice conduct a review of the current scheduling, HHS recommended reclassifying marijuana to Schedule III, where sale and use would be somewhat less restricted and state legal businesses could reap some tax benefits. As part of that process, HHS conducted a scientific and medical evaluation for consideration by the DEA. A DEA spokesperson told news outlet The Hill in August of 2023. The DEA has the final authority to schedule or reschedule a drug under the Controlled Substances Act, and the DEA will now initiate its review. Normal political director Morgan Fox noted, "It's difficult to determine which way the DEA is leaning on the matter. In a nutshell, the DEA has the final call. And while technically they're supposed to listen to HHS on any health-related matters, the criteria by which HHS and the DEA judge scheduling are significantly different, and it allows for the DEA to input its own scientific opinion," he said. Aaron Smith, president of the National Cannabis Industry Association, said while rescheduling would be appreciated, such a result wouldn't address many of the industry's major concerns. He went on to say, "A move from Schedule 1 to 3 would provide tax relief for businesses unfairly burdened with IRS Section 280E, but it would not address other problems caused by federal prohibition. Removing cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act and enacting sensible regulations is the only way to bring federal law into harmony with state laws that have long made cannabis legal for adults and medical patients." Despite the conservative tilt in the House of late, there is room for optimism. In September, Republican Gerald Nadler and 33 other Democrats reintroduced the Marijuana Opportunity Reinvestment and Expungement, or the MORE Act, which would remove cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act, require federal expungement, and encourage states to expunge as well, and initiate a 5% federal excise tax that would fund loans, licensing, and individual assistance for people impacted by the war on drugs. The following month, Republican Nancy Mace and 4 others reintroduced the Bipartisan State Reform Act. Originally presented in 2021 with only Republican support, the 2023 version of the bill would repeal federal prohibition and treat cannabis much like alcohol by placing it under the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Regulation of raw plants would fall to the Department of Agriculture, while product oversight would be split between the Tax and Trade Bureau for recreational products and the FDA for medicinal products. The legislation also would facilitate record expungement for nonviolent offenses, institute a federal excise tax, and allow states to regulate commerce within their borders. Additionally, the bill includes provisions that would make cannabis accessible to veterans. She has the support of some heavy hitters in the Republican ecosphere, including Charles Koch's political advocacy group, Americans for Prosperity. AFP is preparing to lobby on behalf of Mace's bill and bring more Republicans into the mix with cannabis reform and federal legalization as potential campaign issues in 2024. But the alcohol model presents its own set of challenges. Economists Daniel Sumner and Robin Goldstein from the University of California, Davis have been analyzing the unique dynamics of the industry since adult legalization began, capturing their findings in their 2022 book, Can Legal Weed Win? The Blunt Realities of Cannabis Economics. Sumner said, one of the problems for illegal alcohol was holding something that's very, very bulky per unit of value, and illegal sellers were never able to service a large market, noting $2,000 worth of cannabis only weighs 1 or 2 pounds. Also, nobody in New York City has the stomach to go door to door and arrest people and throw them in jail for cannabis business these days when it's legal for other people. Until the price of cannabis is similar in both legal and illicit markets, Sumner and Goldstein agree the underground will continue to thrive. The price difference really can't be overstated, said Goldstein. Perhaps the boldest of the bills circulating the House is Ohio Republican Representative Dave Joyce's strengthening the 10th Amendment through entrusting the state's 2.0 Act, which attempts to address the illicit market as much of a grander plan. A revamped version of the bill he introduced last session, States 2.0, does not propose removing cannabis from the Controlled Substance Act. Instead, the legislation would amend the statute so it does not apply to states that have legalized a regulated market. Co-sponsored by 2 Democrats, the 2 Republicans, States 2.0, two Democrats and 2 Republicans, States 2.0's text indicates it would also authorize interstate commerce and institute a federal tax low enough not to exasperate the level of taxation set by states. Tax revenues would be used to offset the cost of executing the federal administrative functions of a federal regulatory framework for marijuana, including requirements for testing, enforcement, and policing, youth prevention, and substance abuse prevention and education. Under the proposed law, states that prohibit cannabis sale and or use would not be allowed to interfere with transportation across their borders. Part of the federal tax revenue earmarked for enforcing and policing presumably would be devoted to federal action against illicit operators. Violators of state laws, the bill notes, would be subject to federal prosecution. In addition, Joyce's bill would specify the FDA's authority to regulate products that are marked as drugs, food, dietary supplements, or cosmetic, and prohibit combining cannabis with mind or mood altering substances, including alcohol and tobacco. The legislation would also bar the application of 280E to licensed businesses in legal states, relieving operators of a significant tax burden. The current federal approach to cannabis policy infringes on the rights of states to implement their own laws, stifling critical medical research, hurting legitimate businesses, and diverting vital law enforcement resources needed elsewhere, Joyce said. The States 2.0 Act does what every federal bill should do, helps all 50 states succeed. This bill respects the will of the states that have legalized cannabis in some form and allows them to implement their own policies without fear and repercussion from the federal government.
Yay.
Joyce, co-chair of the Congressional Cannabis Caucus, has more experience negotiating reform bills than nearly any other politician in D.C. Joyce and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also reintroduced the PREPARE Act, preparing regulators effectively for a post-prohibition adult use regulated environment in 2023, which they said is designed to help the federal government and the states prepare for what they believe is inevitable, the end of prohibition. The act would establish the Commission on the Federal Regulation of Cannabis and task the body with developing a regulatory and revenue framework to ensure safe production and consumption of cannabis, which would account for the unique needs, rights, and laws of each state, and present such a framework to Congress within 1 year. According to Joyce, when we first drafted the PREPARE Act in 2022, it was a good way for people to wade in and set up a program. So when cannabis does become legal, there will be a format for the rest of the industry to follow. This isn't rocket science. We're already doing something similar with beer and wine and spirits, with a federal network where each state is allowed to develop its own regulations in the manner it sees fit, and the federal government allows it to have interstate transfer and other things. Joyce is optimistic about more legislation moving through Congress soon because of all the tax revenue states have been collecting. With a current federal debt of nearly $34 trillion, Congress can't afford to snub any potential revenue. In an election year, with parts of the Middle East and Europe embroiled in wars, it's safe to say cannabis won't be the highest priority for federal politicians. And a progressive stance on cannabis could sway some swing voters, considering an October Gallup poll found that 70% of Americans believe marijuana should be legal. Most of what people want means just taking cannabis off a couple of lists, and that it is an administrative action that doesn't take legislation, he explained. I think it's a huge win the president needs and the Democratic Party needs, but I don't think we're going to see it fully come to fruition until October, so they can score a win right ahead of the election.
We gotta wait that long.
When you look on the Twitter sphere, everybody's focused on whether the DEA is going to move the plant to Schedule 3. I think the answer is yes. But then the rulemaking process has to happen. For this fledgling industry, this is the most important part of the process.
Great article, very long, but it was a lot of well-said stuff in there. Stuff that we all should know what's going to happen, but stuff that tried to happen too in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
You know, great job, Mrs. Weedman. That's why I gave it to you, because I didn't want to read it all.
Thanks.
Some new marijuana laws take effect in certain states. California, Washington state implement cannabis-related workplace protections. Nevada possession limits more than doubles as business expanded operates. Now it's 2.5 ounces. Virginia gets new marijuana regulatory body. How about fixing your shit, Virginia, so people can go and actually go to a dispensary, or just free it. Let caregivers grow it and make money at it. There you go. Finish it. Colorado marijuana products must be labeled with a use-by date. Oklahoma's medical cannabis industry sees multiple regulatory updates. They're fixing some shit there. Good. Hopefully it'll go recreational there soon in Oklahoma. DEA calls for even more THC, psilocybin, and DMT to be produced for research in 2024. Connecticut cannabis workers celebrate state's first ever union contract, and it's not their own, which is fine. Georgia cannabis payment processor folds amid $500 million legal fight. That's not good. Let's see here. Mississippi testing lab owner comments on halting product sales and retesting. Oof. New Jersey bill to help police enforce underage drinking and cannabis use. Delaware state rep files a bill to expand medical marijuana program. And New Mexico lawmakers want a temporary halt on new retail licenses. New York legal cannabis, here, this is crazy. New York legal cannabis earns $150 million its first year of sales despite licensing hurdles. They should be like $3 billion.
Yeah.
But $150 million in just, I think there's only 12 dispensaries in New York. That's, recreational dispensaries. New York weed farmers ruined after governor blocks massive marijuana sale. They were trying to move some product out, and Hochul said no. So the farmers they really fucked this up. 250,000 pounds of unsold cannabis.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's just all the resources that go into growing it too.
Yeah, it's just brutal. They were trying to sell it to the New York tribes that have dispensaries, and the governor put a stop to it.
He'd rather just see it go to waste.
She. Yeah. Terrible.
That's a better answer.
Yep. Jersey, the place I was born, will see more than 1 billion in marijuana sales in 2024. Blowing New York right out of the water. Jersey, I love it. Colorado governor and activists celebrate 10-year anniversary of first legal recreational marijuana sales. 10 years of anniversary. Crazy. Marijuana legalization supporters have more than enough signatures to get on Florida ballot. Florida and Pennsylvania, talking about going to be legal. John Hopkins launches a $10 million Fed-funded study of 10,000 medical marijuana patients. Pretty good. Alabama. Tide did not win yesterday, ladies and gentlemen. Cannot say roll Tide. They lost to Michigan. Oof, what a hurting. Sorry, people, my friends in Alabama. Alabama aims to get its medical cannabis program started with lawsuit, but the lawsuits continue. But they said, fuck it, we're doing it. All those MSOs, stupid. GOP Assembly Speaker in Wisconsin We'll pass medical marijuana bill with or without Democrats. You guys are idiots because you don't even want it. And you're just trying to prove a point here. But instead of doing it right and coming across the table, because Democrats want home grow, you don't. Democrats want to do this, you don't. But you will let it minor, like less than an ounce, you'll let people carry, which is stupid. So why don't you come across the table, shake some hands, kiss some babies, give some hugs, and get the shit right.
Yeah.
It's 2024, January, right?
Yeah.
What do most people do in January to like be healthy?
A dry January.
So taking a break from alcohol with a gummy instead, right?
Yeah, yeah. New Year's resolutions are dutifully made and efforts are expended to lead a better, healthier life. But what about during the final part of the holiday season? Maybe taking a break from alcohol with a gummy can help you and your body feel better. During the holiday season, people drink to celebrate, to relax, and to avoid some of the stress and tensions coming from being around the family. This tends to make alcohol a staple of the holiday season, but it can be a counterproductive to a feel-good atmosphere. Surveys suggest in the weeks between Thanksgiving and the New Year, alcohol consumption spikes. For some people, it may as much as double what they drink during the rest of the year. With eggnog, adult cider, spiked punch, and celebratory glasses of sparkling wine, it's not that hard for extra alcohol to creep in to one's daily life. Consuming alcohol can lead to high levels of stomach acid. This can inflame the stomach lining, leading to irritation and bloating that can last a few days. In addition, alcohol is considered a depressant and directly affects the central nervous system. Once alcohol enters the bloodstream, it circulates to the brain where it proceeds to slow down firing of neurons. When neuron firing decreases, it can result in fatigue and sleepiness. Alcohol can also impede sleep, while cannabis gummies can help you sleep better, helping your body revive quicker after a few days. Traditionally, when people think of consuming cannabis, they think of smoking, but the new wave of partakers since legalization leans into vapes and gummies. In fact, almost 50% of the way people consume is with gummies. They offer benefits and control. With control, you can manage your dosage and a bit of relaxation without too much celebration. Gummies also don't have the same body effect on your stomach as booze, which is a benefit and gives your tummy time to bounce back. So take a break from alcohol with a gummy. It can be good for you, your mind, and your body.
We like gummies.
Yeah.
Gummies, a gummy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good gummies out there.
Gummies are good.
Yep. International news. Germany is preparing to pass a cannabis act, which will decriminalize and reclassify cannabis as a non-narcotic. It's a good time for companies to secure their place in the European cannabis market before the competition explodes. While scientific research is necessary for marijuana reform, shifts in social and economic factors are essential. They are the largest importer of cannabis in the world, everybody. I think there's only like one cultivator in Germany. And so, yes. Lots of changes happening, though. Authorities seize 1.3 tons of weed in Taiwan, or being delivered to Taiwan, worth about $113.9 million. So rafts were being used to shuttle weed from Mongolian oil tanker, which was seized. So, yeah, crazy. There's a picture of it, too. Lots of bags of weed. So, yeah, lots of stuff over there. You should just legalize it. And just, So, Ghana legalizes cannabis for medical and industrial purposes. Ghana's parliament voted to legalize cannabis for medical and industrial use with strict THC limits, aligning with the global trend and potentially unlocking significant economic and employment opportunities across the nation. That's awesome. Good for you, Ghana. Willie. Still going at 90-something years old. Just killing it. Killing it.
Yep. Willie Nelson believes his famous habit saves lives. Could smoking weed save lives? Legendary country singer Willie Nelson. Certainly, this weed is making me like slurry. With
really?
Yeah. And then I keep like reading, like I can't keep my words in order when I'm reading. It's good though. I feel good. He certainly thinks so. Throughout his career as one of the most recognizable names in country music, the musician has racked up dozens of awards, including multiple Grammy wins. Besides producing some of the catchiest country rock anthems of the past decades, Nelson has one more hobby that has earned him many fans. The music star is hailed as a hero among the weed-using crowds. It's no secret that he is a big fan of weed. He landed himself in legal trouble many times over the years for possessing the highly debated herb. Most famously, he was arrested in 2010 after authorities discovered pot on his tour bus, per ABC News. While Nelson has had his share of problems due to weed over the years, he has no doubt how useful it is. In fact, the country singer believes that smoking the medicinal herb has saved many lives because it saved him from drinking himself to death. Cannabis is a subject clouded by controversy, but according to Willie Nelson, people should take a deeper look at its benefits before jumping to harsh conclusions about it. In an interview with E! News, Nelson revealed that he thinks cannabis isn't just a fun thing to smoke from time to time. It also has the potential to save lives. It not only saved my life, it probably saved some others' lives, he said, before detailing his past struggles with alcoholism. He admitted that it was weed that played a huge helping hand in overcoming the addiction. And it might have killed a lot of people too, he stated. I'm just glad that that didn't happen. Nelson is definitely onto something with his idea that cannabis saves lives. According to a study, alcohol is attributed to nearly 114 times more deaths than cannabis. The herb is also linked to many health benefits. Per Harvard Health, medical marijuana has been reported by many patients to relieve chronic pain and even ease symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Along with saving lives, cannabis has forged some unforgettable celebrity friendships for Willie Nelson. The On the Road Again singer tends to smoke with other famous faces. During his interview with E! News, he revealed that he got together with rap artist Snoop Dogg and home improvement genius Martha Stewart, both fellow fans of cannabis, for a smoke-filled night to remember, sort of. Things got fuzzy as the trio engaged in a weed-smoking duel. According to Nelson, the group had a fun time trying to smoke out one another and even began crafting the collab song of the century. Unfortunately, we may never hear it. I'm sure we never finished it, Nelson admitted with a laugh. The smoking contest of the century isn't the only funny story Nelson has about smoking weed with celebrities. The performer famously smoked with James Earl Carter III, the son of former President Jimmy Carter. Quite fittingly, the president's son and Nelson chose to partake in their toke on the rooftop of the White House. The longtime rumor was confirmed by Jimmy Carter himself in the documentary Jimmy Carter, Rock and Roll President. So keep on rolling and token, Mr. Nelson.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. UFC, though, formally removes marijuana from banned substance list for professional fighters.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
huge.
good.
That's
yeah,
a big
UFC.
deal.
Go Dana White in the UFC. That's good stuff. Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
But it's the start of a year.
Start of a year.
Start of a good year.
Yeah, he started off with a show.
Right?
I worked on the show yesterday, January 1st, and I didn't want to because I felt like shit, and I got it done. I put together a good show, and there it is right there. When you don't want to do something, you go and do it anyway, and you get it done.
That's right.
And I was hungover, not from alcohol. I had a weed hangover like shit, and I think I was still high throughout the day. But then we smoked, and I felt a hell of a lot better.
You should have just smoked earlier
I
in the
didn't
day.
want to do anything. I just didn't want to. I didn't even want to leave my bed. I didn't want to leave my bed at all. Yuki was laying next to me. It was like 9:45.
I think you just needed a day of chill.
And I smelt your cinnamon buns you made.
Mm-hmm.
And Paulie and Shoddy were over. They spent the night. And Gwen came up, their dog, and just started licking me all over my face. So that got me up. And I ate a delicious cinnabon bun that you made. It was fantabulous. So that got me going for a little while, all that sugar. So remember, kids, be careful when you dab. Because you could end up like Mr. Weedman and slumped. Lord, meme, God. But as we go into 2024, sit down, write some things you want to do this year. A couple things. Go on a vacation. Find a new job. Go live some life and go have some fun. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he has some family that lives in other countries, and he said that the Americans, he was complaining about his job to a family member who lives overseas. And the family member says this: you Americans, all you care about is your career and your work, and you forget about life itself. You forget about what life is truly all about. A job is a temporary source of income to pay what you need to survive and live. Live life, love life. Go have some fucking fun in 2024. Change what, yes, we need a job. Yes, we should be proud of work and what we do for work, but it should not rule our life. Corporations shouldn't rule our life. Go out there and live and have some fucking fun. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
Fuck it.
Life is for living.
Yes. As my brother always says, get lost living.
Yep.
So 2024, make that your number one goal. Get lost living. Go have some fucking fun and enjoy yourselves. You only live once on this fucking planet. That's it. That's all we got. One shot. And when you hit 50, you're looking at everything in the back going, man, I need to get back to the front again and go have some fucking fun. Forget about living in the caboose of life. Go live on the front fucking train of life. Go live on the fucking engine and roar till you die. Mm-hmm. So happy 2024, everybody. We love you. Be kind to one another out there. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, puff.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome, long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable. 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 Acceptable.